Tom Petty, 820. Big Jim. There's Donielle Flynn. Donnie got Jenny. And from Fox 2, it's Dan Miller. Good morning, Dan.
What do you say, guys? How you doing?
How do you think we're doing, man? I'm jacked up like a spider monkey. I'm ready to go. I'm drinking Honolulu Blue Kool-Aid that's mixed with Mountain Dew and just fury, man. I'm ready to go, Dan. How's that? Was that a good answer?
Yeah, I think everybody is. I think it's, you got a long wait really from last year in San Francisco and losing that game through an off season where you feel like the team got better and just knowing what the possibilities are for this team, but also understanding the work they have to put in to get there. And now you get to get started. So it's exciting.
Yeah, Donnie's trying to keep me grounded this week. She's like, Dan saying, you got to put the work in.
Yes.
There's no guarantees.
Exactly.
You got to, don't put the horse in front of the cart with the buggy, with the whip, or whatever the hell that saying is. I don't care.
I think she's right, though. I mean, I think it's, that's kind of the daunting thing about the season is, you have all this good feeling and equity built up from last year and what the team did. But unfortunately, when they start that game on Sunday night, the Lions don't lead 10-0 because they were really good last year. You got to go out and do it all again. So, look, I think it's a mixture of having a lot of belief in this team and what they're capable of, but also an understanding of how hard it was last year to get where they ultimately were in the NFC Championship game and everything they had to endure to get there, and then to realize that wasn't enough. So you need to be even better. So it's cliche, but it really is week by week, game by game, play by play, and just handling their business.
Is DJ Reader going to play Sunday?
I'm guessing no, but I don't have any specific intel on that. But just the fact that he's been limited all week in practice based on their injury reports, he's got to get a few full practices in my mind, before you're going to run him out there. I mean, they're thinking he's a terrific and a massive add for this football team. So in my mind, you're going to let him get a couple of full practices in with a lot of contact before you send him out there. So I guess my guess is they'll ramp him up next week and see if they can get him ready for that game.
Heard Brad Holmes talking a lot about Aiden Hutchinson, the expectation of him even taking another step forward. Are you seeing that as well?
Yeah, and I think, with Coach Williams, new defensive line coach, I think, I've talked to Aiden about him. He absolutely loves him. All the defensive linemen, Aleem McNeil told me he's got him doing things he'd never even heard of, and then he'll show it to him on tape that it works. And I think that's been a really nice addition for this team to help this defensive line and these players get better. Because, I mean, as good as Hutch is, what makes him great and potentially one of the best is just his insatiable, desire to get better. He just wants to keep learning, keep getting better, and that's what the great ones. That's what. So, yeah, I think it's in a great spot to have an even better season than he did last year when he had 11.5 sacks. So. I think he's in a good place. I think a lot of those defensive linemen are. I think, and they're going to be needed. I mean, that's a place where this team has to get better, is with some of those guys getting after the quarterback a little bit.
I heard Amon-Ra St. Brown talking a lot about Montgomery, and obviously we focus on Jahmyr Gibbs for good reason. I mean, he's an amazing running back, and we're expecting huge things this year. But is it almost like the team's going, don't forget this bowling ball that wears number 5 that we have with Montgomery? Is that the same kind of vibe you're getting?
I mean, I think they just have immense respect for him and what he's done in this league. And he's done it for a while now. And he was really last year. And, I was just watching some of the Rams game, and you forget the play he made on 2nd down and 7 in that final drive to give him a first down and make it a defender miss in a 1-on-1 situation. And it was a huge, huge play. Maybe they don't close the game out with the ball if he doesn't make that play. So, he's the kind of guy who puts in the kind of effort and plays the kind of football that I think resonates with his teammates. He's a popular guy in that locker room, to be sure, and just a really, really outstanding player. And there were people that looked at that contract that they gave him when they signed him, and they said, it's the added belief is that you don't pay running backs a lot these days, but man, he paid off that contract big time last year, and I know they're expecting big things again this year.
The sort of thing about that was like a Pudge deal. Remember the Tigers kind of had to overpay back in the day to get Pudge here. Same thing with bringing in free agents, which is not a problem now because it kind of feels like everybody wants to come play for the Lions.
Yeah, there's no doubt that's changed. I mean, we've seen that. I think it's been a number of different things, from just seeing the success of the team to, I think you got to look at Dan Campbell on Hard Knocks and look at the organization on Hard Knocks. And I think it made a lot of people realize how much things had changed here. And obviously there have been a lot of clips out there of Campbell and the way that he deals with his players, situations and things like that. And I think he's the ultimate players coach, just somebody that they really want to play for. He treats them fairly. You know exactly where you stand, and that matters. And, all things being equal, a lot of times it's just going to be money, but it doesn't hurt to have a franchise where people want to play. And you got so many young stars on this team as well that I think people take a look at that and they see the development of players on this team and they want to be the best they can possibly be. And this is a good place to do that.
Beyond the, everyone talks about don't turn the ball over, the standard stuff to win a game in the NFL. What do the Lions need to do Sunday night to beat the Rams?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that's certainly a lot of it. Not to, again, be cliche, but you can't give Matthew Stafford extra possessions, and you can't give him more chances to put points on the board. And really, it's the same the other way as well. They can't give Jared Goff extra possessions. I mean, you look at that game last year in the playoffs, the Lions scored touchdowns in the first 3 possessions. You get on a run like that, you're hard to beat. So I think it's really about maximizing their possessions. I'm watching that secondary, which I think is better, obviously, on paper than it was last year. But I also know those guys have not played together a lot because they were hurt at different times. Davis has been hurt. Roberts has been hurt. Terrion's been hurt. Branch has been hurt. So that they haven't played together a lot. Nothing serious. They're all ready to go, thankfully. But I just don't want to see how they play. And believe me, you got a guy on the other side in Stafford that will pick you apart if you make a mistake. So they got to be ready to communicate and play out there. So that's a couple of things I'm watching. And then just, look, play the kind of football you know you can play. And that's spreading the ball around on offense, stop the run on defense, and you're usually in pretty good shape.
So for Lions fans this year, how do we, like Donnie, you said from the very beginning talking about this, how do we temper our excitement for this season? Seriously, how do you temper this?
I don't know that you temper it. I think it's okay to have it, but I think it has to come with the realization that you handle your business Sunday against the Rams and then against the Bucks and on through against the Cardinals and down the line against Seattle. It's just there's a big picture to it, which is all the possibilities that you have to be successful and go to a Super Bowl and win a Super Bowl because you're good enough to do that. But that understanding of it doesn't just happen. That's not next week. That's not till February. And you got to put yourself in position to do it. And then you got to get in there and once the playoffs start and do it. So, man, I think it's okay to dream. It's okay to understand we're in a better position as a football team than they have been in a long, long time. But you better understand that it can slip away from you quickly. And that's where you just got to go out there and, bust your backside every week to make it happen.
Super Bowl era, there's never been, I was thinking about 91, 92, not like this. I mean, that this team is being bet on by people. And I heard Kyle Brandt yesterday, and so many people, prognosticators, have said they're going to win the Super Bowl. It is uncharted territory for fans as well as you working in the media, Dan.
Yeah, I think this, look, this was a really good team in the 90s. There's no doubt about it. But I think the lack of a quarterback that could put you in that top echelon of teams is what really held them back. Well, they don't have that problem anymore. Yeah. I mean, look, this team is stacked. They are really, really talented. They've got good coaching. They have, a good plan on Sundays. They've developed their players. Their players come here and get better. We're seeing guys all ascending at once. So, look, it's there's a reason there's a lot of excitement about this team right now, and they've earned it because they've done it the right way. But you have to continue to do that. It's everything that goes into, incrementally moving yourself along and getting in position to be in that final game if you can.
So what do you guys, Fox 2, what's the schedule like for you on Sunday?
10 a.m. Sunday, we'll be there with our pregame show and get everybody ready for the game. And then, we got a post-game show at 11:30 right after the game. The works will start at 11:30. We'll go for an hour. We'll have highlights and locker room interviews. I'll be there. Hammer will be there. Ex-Lion Bradford Band is going to join us.
Nice.
Woody will be there. So we got the cast out there, and we'll be talking about whatever happens after the game. But it'll be a big post-game show from the studio, from the locker room, from the field. We will have it all covered on Sunday night, and looking forward to it. It's going to be an electric night in the city.
Dan Miller, Fox 2 with us here in Big Jim's house. So I guess the last question, since we talked about, it being excited, but obviously, Donna, you've kind of, so when they win the Super Bowl, the parade, which way should they go, Dan?
God,
up or down Woodward to get to Ford Field?
Straight to Hart Plaza.
Okay, smart.
There you go.
No.
Yeah, there you go.
Wait a
Sometimes
minute.
you just can't fight it.
Be honest.
Yep.
Have you visualized it in your mind's eye? Not saying it's going to happen, but have you had that dream?
Long before this year.
Love it.
Before this year. I had that dream when they were not good. Because I think you always these sports and games are built around hope. And even when you're not good, you hope that you can get better. And that hope is ultimately realized when you win the biggest games. So, I'm like anybody else. I'm shocked if any Lions fans out there haven't dreamed of winning that ultimate game. And look, we've been there for Piston parades. We've been there for Red Wing parades. So we know what it looks like. We just need it to be a Honolulu Blue crowd at some point.
But in my dream, Sofia Vergara is presenting the Lombardi Trophy. Is that different? I'm just saying.
It could happen.
You're damn right.
That's a little bit different. Yeah, I'm not saying it's a bad thing.
No. Just keep it real. Dan Miller, always appreciate the time. Have a great call on the game Sunday, and we'll talk soon. Okay, bud?
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Dan Miller, Fox 2, Big Jim's house, CSX. That's the thing to me. You're right. Obviously, it's a long season. There's a lot of work. We've never had a Lions team like this, ever, that is this loaded. But just the fact that, and you could have that dream, that's wild to me.
Yeah.
We never had that dream.
I feel like, as Dan was saying, you got to put the work in throughout the season, and then it's going to be another hurdle. The further up they go in the playoffs, the more new experiences that they're hitting. It's not their first, it is their first go around into the higher areas. So I feel like there's learning experience and a learning curve that goes along with that.
Do you know the only thing they're going to have to hurdle? I'm going to have to hurdle the police barricade if Sofia Vergara is up there. That's
Right.
what I'm going to hurdle.
Well, duh.
I'm sorry, what? I just was thinking about the Hart Plaza thing. I know you said something about tempering your hopes,
Right.
but nope.
Nah.